Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we officially begin the program, please rise for the invocation.
Lord, may your goodness and love be present amongst us today. Come bless our gathering with unity, hope, and vision. Lord, we pray for unity. Build in us all a deep respect for one another so that your family be one. Lord, we pray for hope. Come stir your hope within our hearts and renew our faith. Lord, we pray for vision to make the Philippines a first world country. We ask all this in the glorious name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Tablante. Please remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem. The Asia CEO Forum 2022 Victory Lunch is presented by PLDT Enterprise, the preferred digital services partner of the B2B market.
It's an incredible honor.
I feel very blessed and grateful.
It feels fantastic.
I feel extremely ecstatic.
We didn't know that we were going to win the award. I'm speechless.
I'm super happy. It's such a blessing for us. This award is really unexpected.
Such an honor and a privilege.
I'm truly honored and humbled.
This is really a great honor.
We're thankful that the award-giving body has recognized our contribution.
Those are the real medals.
It's been a fantastic evening.
I wasn't expecting any recognition at all. I'm feeling wonderful.
It was a fantastic event.
All the Aces Awards 2023 winners, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.
We'll see you again next year.
The Philippines is considered as one of the fastest growing countries in Southeast Asia. It serves as an inspiration for amazing resilience, determination, and ability to adapt to any given circumstances. As 2022 comes to a close, together we look forward to a better tomorrow and a brighter future. Join us today for the Asia CEO Forum as we celebrate the end of 2022 and anticipate the start of 2023.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Yes, we have a nice event today. Still a lot of people on the way. Our Speaker of the House, we're really pleased to have him. Such a personable, outgoing fellow. But his schedule is he has to fly to Palawan right after this. the first flight's already left. There's the one for Vice President Harris and so forth. And I don't know if you saw on the news last night, but Vice President Harris seems to really taken to our Speaker of the House, so he's sure to be there. And I just learned that she is staying or was staying at his home while she is entertaining delegates and all this kind of stuff. So it's quite a good thing. And she seems to be doing very well here. And really, this group is really putting on a good effort to really make the group feel good in Philippines and hospitable and so forth. So, guys, were really nice. Like I said, there's still a lot of people coming. Martin, you were a big draw, I can tell you. It's just that with the change in schedule, there's still a lot of people coming. But yeah, really nice to have everybody here. We have our PLDT friends with us. I saw Arthur Nowak, who sponsored the Diversity Company of the Year award. There's Arthur there. We have Rosemary Raphael of Airspeed for her award. I'll have to go through a little bit later, everybody. I know we've got award winners as well. I saw Cindy of Allcare. I saw, Mark McCullough's here, former Young Leader of the Year award winner, and other with KMC Mag, a very successful operation. Gemma Garland is here. I see Carmi. Now the names are leaving me here, but Celeste Illigan is here. Maria is here. Nice to have her in the government with us. So a lot of interesting and nice people to get to know and be introduced to. So I'm really pleased about that. So to keep up with our schedule for Martin, we'll go right into it. He is a very personable and likable fellow from all reports. We were so pleased that our friend Dr. Bernie Villegas, one of our judges, so anybody here interested in awards, you want to be sure to talk with Bernie sometime during the day. And they're close friends and was able to bring him with us today. He is, as I said, Speaker of the House and certainly a very prominent fellow, a part of this administration. A lot is going on. I'm sure we're all hearing almost all good reports these days. It's not always like that in the past, as we know. So we're really pleased to have him with us. Called Cebu's Pride. We have a big Cebuana presence today, and Martin is certainly one of these. But again, for years, many prominent things and activities vital to the country's progress. So we're really pleased to have a high-profile and pleasant fellow like him, despite his challenging schedule right now. So I'll welcome Martin Romualdez, Speaker of the House, Republic of the Philippines, to the stage, and he is free to say whatever he wants, and we're so looking forward. Speaking to Roderick Danao of PwC, our scrutineer for the event. Oh, good. We got some good fellas who came early, and I'll just say for Martin's sake, really good guys who came early and really looked after things. Okay, Martin Romualdez, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, good mornings, and thank you so much to our good friend Richard Mills here, who's one of the main organizers of the 2022 Asia CEO Forum. I'd like to, of course, acknowledge the one and only our chair. He's been everything to me and my family, Dr. Bernie Villegas. Not only has he sat on the boards where we've had some interests in, but he's also been somehow also, even our spiritual guide. And not just economic guide, but spiritual guide. In fact, before I even acknowledge the rest of our friends here, I'd like to make special mention. Just last month, Dr. Villegas gifted me with his latest book, and he gave me another copy, for the president with the dedication, which I turned over to our president. Our president immediately, as soon as I gave it to him, started reading the book. And the following weekend when I visited him, was well on his way to finishing the book because it was on his desk. And in fact, this read came before our trips to the ASEAN and to the APEC. And much of what is in the book, has become the theme of the message of our president to all these world leaders in this international fora. So you can see how Dr. Villegas has influenced, has shaped, has guided us here in the Philippines at all levels, from the highest positions to people like me. As a young man, as a young businessman, he's been a great guide, and that is why, upon his invitation, I am here, honored to be part of the Asia CEO Forum today. I'd like to also acknowledge Mr. Roderick Danao, who is the chairman and senior partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Mr. Danao, I'd like to let you know that I was also a witness at the Bangkok CEO dialogue, the very first morning of the APEC affair. And we had no less than your boss, Robert Moritz of Pricewaterhouse, with Professor Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, and our president as the first panelists. The interchange and the dialogue they had was amazing. These are just sidebars to my acknowledgement of the gentleman at the table, no? And I think you can go and talk to your boss, Bob Moritz, and you could see how they were literally ending each other's sentences, complimenting one another. In fact, our President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. says that his big takeaway from these visits in Phnom Penh and in Bangkok is that despite the global challenges that we all are facing today, he takes solace in the fact that we not only share the same challenges, but actually we all have the same viewpoints, and we share not just the challenges, but the solutions. And I believe this whole theme of unity that he espoused in the country is one that echoes now throughout the region, not just in the ASEAN, but with our partner nations like the United States, China, Canada, Japan, all the bigger nations with our bigger economies. So there's still a lot of hope, despite the seeming dismal state of affairs that has been brought about by the conflicts that we face in the Ukraine and the tensions that have been heightened in the region vis-a-vis China and Taiwan. I'd like to also acknowledge in advance our other very, very important people from the government, like we'll be having, I believe, Secretary Frasco, I think your commissioner from the Bureau of Customs, no? I just wanted to mention these two because tourism, will play a very, very critical part in our recovery because of the beautiful natural resources that we have. And as I was saying, in my visits, everyone kept on saying they'd like to come and visit the Philippines to see the beautiful country that we have and to experience the hospitality of our more beautiful people. So these are very natural assets that we have that we should be able to leverage on. We also have, I think later on, I think you'll have the commissioner of the Bureau of Customs, and to just put it very bluntly and straight, when he comes here and if I don't get to catch him, challenge him to breach the trillion peso mark in terms of collections. I am sure under his leadership with the customs, I think in conjunction with the BIR, they can raise revenue collections, and they can breach whatever existing targets they have, because we can even see just on fuel prices alone. They've gone up substantially, and as well as the dollar exchange. 200 to 300 billion in additional revenues is an easy target, and since we're close to current 750, a trillion in terms of collections from the customs is not impossible. And in conjunction with the BIR, we can easily double our revenues to bridge the budget deficit that we have. Now to my prepared statement. I prepared a statement, so I'd rather stick to that. Otherwise, I might stand here too long. And that was just my acknowledgement for your information. And as the president says, the last thing you want to do is to give a politician a microphone. He'll never let it down. Well, anyway, my dear friends and ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to you all. And thank you again for inviting me to grace your event. And as I'm truly honored to take part in this biggest gathering of movers and shakers in business today. It gives me great pleasure and joy to see old friends, and at the same time excited to meet the younger generation of captains of industries in the country. On behalf of your House of Representatives, let me also extend our warmest appreciations, or message of appreciation to your group for being a steadfast and reliable partner in nation building. The business fora and summits that you have organized have contributed a lot in keeping our country's economy afloat and moving the country forward during these most challenging times. I understand that I was invited here to provide an overview of the economic legislative agenda of the 19th Congress. So I stand before you, however, not merely to speak on the topic, and I expect to engage with you later, and not necessarily today, but in fact, I invite you all to Congress during our hearings, or if there are chambers of commerce that you are members of, to come over and invite you to serious discussions on how we in government and in the private sector can work even closer together and to give flesh to this legislative agenda. Our President, Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr., has an agenda for prosperity. And this agenda has at its core mission the country's economic transformation towards inclusivity and sustainability. In other words, he is not satisfied in reverting back or going back to pre-COVID economic conditions. He believes that a transformation is at hand. We in Congress are one with the President in this mission. And that is why, for the first time in the history, in the Philippines House of Representatives and Senate, both houses have adopted through House Concurrent Resolution Number 2 the administration's medium-term fiscal framework and 8-point socio-economic agenda, which comprise the roadmap for the agenda for prosperity. We have committed to prioritizing legislative measures that support the medium-term fiscal framework and the 8-point socio-economic agenda because we in Congress join in the mission to steer the economy back to its high growth path in the near term and to sustain inclusive and resilient growth through 2028. For the first time in history in the Philippines, the country has a clear-cut 6-year agenda with clearly set out goals. These are to achieve 6.5 to 7.5% GDP growth in 2022, and this we are poised to achieve. As you know, you have seen the third quarter numbers, and we are actually on the right trajectory, posting a 7.6 GDP growth for the third quarter only. In fact, I've been sharing with Dr. Bernie Villegas, our economic team in the House believe that the fourth quarter growth targets may actually be surpassed, and we might actually register closer to 8% GDP in the fourth quarter due to the inward remittances of our OFWs in time for the holiday season. The 6.5 to 8% annual GDP growth for 2023 to 2028 is also set as our target. And to achieve single-digit or a 9% poverty rate by 2028. Third, to bring the government deficit down to 3% by 2028. Fourth, to achieve less than 60% debt to GDP ratio by 2025. And finally, to achieve upper middle income country status for the Philippines. So these are very, very clear-cut, very defined goals and targets, which we are determined and all focused and united to achieve. Meanwhile, the 8-point socio-economic agenda ensures that our progress is inclusive and sustainable. The objectives include attaining food security, addressing public health concerns, strengthening social protection programs, reducing the costs of transportation and energy, returning to face-to-face classes, and for the government, enhancing bureaucratic efficiency and practicing sound fiscal management. It is with this solid economic plan that the Philippines is not only surviving, but thriving in spite of the external or global economic challenges. Globally, the economic outlook is gloomy. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, stubbornly high inflation, and an abrupt slowdown in the global growth from 6% in 2021 to 3.2% in 2022. Yet, against all odds, it was announced weeks ago that the Philippines achieved that 7.6 GDP growth for the third quarter this year, faster than the 7.5% expansion in the second quarter and the 7% growth rate in the third quarter of 2021. In fact, we have surprised analysts as the Philippines was reported to be the second best performing country among the major emerging economies in Southeast Asia today, surpassed only by Vietnam. Another figure that the President has mentioned, because he's been watching the growth, but he says he's been watching the unemployment rate, and that has gone down from 5.6 to 5. So amidst the high inflation, a recession is always feared, but with our unemployment rate being properly managed and actually in the decrease, we believe that our growth is sustainable. Even better, NEDA has confirmed that all sectors sustained this expansion. The services sector grew by 9.1%, industry posted a 5.8% growth, and even the agriculture sector grew by 2.2%, up from a 1.7% decline in the same period last year. As the President said in his first State of the Nation address, the state of the nation is sound. And I attribute that growth and that achievement in the agriculture sector due to the President's hands-on approach in addressing the problems in that sector. Without a doubt, this is because of the agenda for prosperity, the sound economic plan of our President and his economic managers led by Secretary Ben Diokno, Secretary of Finance, Secretary Fred Pascual of the Trade and Industry. We have also R.C. Malikasan of the NEDA, Philip Medalla of the BSP. We have Secretary Amina Pangandaman of the Department of Budget and Management, and even the Secretary of Public Works, Manny Bonoan. All of these public officials in the cabinet work as a team, and the cohesion that they've displayed is yielding dividends of the hard work and the vision that had been in place as early as 6 months ago. It is encouraging to note that we are on the right track to meet the objectives of the medium-term fiscal framework and the 8-point socio-economic agenda. Given the 7.7% growth rate for the first 3 quarters of the year, the economy now only needs to grow by 3.3 to 6.9% this fourth quarter of 2022 to meet this year's target. So definitely we are on track not only to meet the target of growth and recovery, but actually to surpass it. These encouraging figures strengthen our resolve as lawmakers to remain fully committed to supporting the agenda for prosperity with the necessary legislative measures. On the immediate, our focus is on creating legislation that will help the government boost domestic demand and increase the competitiveness of domestic production to sustain and further accelerate economic recovery. For one, we at the House of Representatives have acted swiftly on approving the 2023 General Appropriations Bill, or the national budget as we know it, based on the proposed 2023 National Expenditure Program that was carefully crafted by the economic team of President Marcos. Indeed, the budget is our most important piece of legislation annually, so we take it very seriously but yet we were able to pass it in the House expeditiously, efficiently, and thoroughly. Under the proposed 2023 national budget, roughly 1.528 trillion, or 29.01% of the 5.268 trillion total budget, is allocated for economic services. The budget shall fund important projects and programs that will transform the economy towards inclusivity and sustainability. Following our participation at the ASEAN Summit in Cambodia and at the APEC meetings in Thailand, where I joined the President, we in Congress are likewise determined to further study needed refinements in our laws, regulations, and government policies so as to further attract foreign investments and create more jobs for Filipinos. My inclusion in these visits have gotten me closer to the executive, so we are actually working not only with legislation, but there is a current draft executive order that would create a green lane similar to what they have in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, where it's just basically a one-stop shop where investors can come, and we target to have within 24 to 48 hours investors who can be fully permitted and ready to go within that shorter time frame, thus making sure that all these businessmen and investors that the President and that we all meet abroad not only feel welcome, but are further incentivized to come over and to invest. Further to the state policies laid down by the President in his State of the Nation address, the House of Representatives is in the process of crafting laws that will support the current administration in implementing a sound fiscal policy in accordance with its medium-term fiscal framework. Priority bills related to tax administration reforms have been filed. 4 of these have passed third reading and have been transmitted to the Senate, while the rest are pending with the Committee on Ways and Means, but I assure you that these will be passed very soon. One of those approved was House Bill 4339, which is the 4th package of the Comprehensive Tax Reform Package. This seeks to simplify the taxation of passive income, financial services, and transactions by reducing the number of tax rates from 83 to 58. If we are able to enact this package as proposed, we will be able to complete the comprehensive tax reform, one of the largest tax reform programs of any country in the world. That just demonstrates the continuity of the economic plan that was instituted in the previous administration, and we seek its completion in a final resolution within this Congress. We also approved the Single-Use Plastic Bags Tax Bill, House Bill 412, and the Bill on the Value-Added Tax on Non-Resident Digital Service Providers, House Bill 4122. And likewise, we approved House Bill 4125, or the proposed Ease of Paying Taxes Act. The measure seeks to modernize tax administration, improve tax compliance, as well as enact policies and procedures appropriate to different types of taxpayers. With the approval of these bills, the House wrapped up with all the priority tax measures of the Duterte-era Comprehensive Tax Reform Program and is now ready to move on to tax collection reforms as prioritized by the Marcos administration. The chairman of the House Committee on Ways and Means, Congressman Joey Salceda, has estimated that these measures alone could yield over 40 billion annually. Bills to support small businesses or MSMEs, an important, a vital, a critical and substantial aspect of the economic recovery, have also been filed and are currently the subject of committee deliberations. And in response to the President's call to expedite the transition to a digitized economy, Congress prioritizes the passage of the e-government and the e-governance law, among others, which would significantly reduce, if not eliminate, red tape. Additionally, the Internet Transactions Act is a vital piece of legislation that will augment the government's revenue collection, improving its fiscal and credit status, and at the same time promoting a robust digital environment for businesses, consumers, and promoting data privacy and intellectual property rights. Just recently, the Congress passed the SIM, the SIM registration law. Through this law, the business community would be able to decipher Congress's decision to direct, that is, and to establish a legal and institutional framework at pace with the needs of the current technological demands. Notwithstanding the fact that we have been hailed, as I address the PNPA, the Philippine National Police Academy, by having this measure passed into law and signed into law as a major way to promote peace and security. Majority of the priority measures spelled out by President Marcos in his SONA are principally authored by no less than this humble representation. So I expect my fellow legislators to act on these bills with dispatch. In fact, I'm hopeful that we can approve most of these measures before the year ends. One thing I assure you though, as stakeholders, you will be consulted in every measure that we tackle, especially those involving commerce and industry. Please make your positions very clear on the issues that we tackle in the House of Representatives, as I want all stakeholders to be heard before we pass these measures into law. I think this partnership between the private sector, your good selves, the industries that you represent, and your House of Representatives, we in Congress, is well underway. Thank you so much. Thank you again for the honor of this invitation from the Asia CEO Forum for inviting me over, and I congratulate you for all that you have done for the economy and for the country. Mabuhay kayong lahat.
We would like to request the Honorable Speaker to please remain on stage as you are presented with a token of appreciation to be presented by Mr. Chet Alvis, Vice President and Head, PLDT Enterprise.
While taking picture, can we request all the sponsors to please come on stage and join for the photo op? Sponsors to join on the stage, please. Samantalahin natin si Secretary, ay si Speaker pala.
Maybe go down the far end though, guys. He's gonna not be in the center. Oh, good. Hi, Kate. Hi, how you doing? Hi. Come on to the far side. Let's go to the far side. We got Bernie. Oh, good. Arthur's coming up too. Okay, come on. Okay, great. Pagkaubos, hindi muna lang. Wow, what a nice looking group.
Makikita ba? Can we see Richard Kang?
Oh, Richard.
Makikita?
So we'll see him tonight on TV. He will be with the Vice President Harris and many others today representing the Philippines. So we'll let him exit gracefully, and he will literally be going in his car onto the plane right now. While we're witnessing the graceful exit of Speaker Romualdez, I'll just pull up some people that will have some introductions so people can see what some of the people in the background are doing for Asia CEO Awards and so forth. PwC, our friends, have worked with us for quite a number of years. How many years, I wonder? 8 years now. for this event. And it's a lot of work. In the early days, there was a little bit of data to handle. Now there is terabytes, it seems, of data that has to be managed and massaged, researched, confirmations, all these kinds of stuff, so the judges can then make their decisions. This fellow, Alex, sorry, my brains are... Alex Cabrera, many years with the PwC organization, has joined us on the board as a judge. And Roderick Danau, he's now the head, the chairman is your role? Chairman of PwC. And so if you want to know the process or any details or have questions or concerns or want to know why it didn't win, these are the guys you talk to, okay? Thank you. Also, as you know, we'll hear a little bit later Bernie Villegas, another one of our judges long term. Thank you too, fellas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, they do good work. I'm telling you, it's a lot of work. A big team of 8 or 10 or so, it seems, that are with us. Also, Alan Coe, I'll mention here. Really a key partner he has been. And always fashionably dressed too, I gotta say. And I forgot. What is it? May Santano as well. A big help with this team here. I'll just go quickly. We put our first speaker a bit early, so we got a bit of time, and it's a perfect time, excuse me, to do some introductions so you can see people that you want to meet. And I don't know, I'm right in front of Michael McCullough here, so I'll introduce him. Stand up a sec, Mike. Mike is with KMC Mag, done very, very well. Mike, years ago, won the Young Leader of the Year award.
When I was young.
When he was young.
When I was young, yeah, thank you.
And what's your business, Mike? Just
we help businesses accelerate their real estate strategy by doing multiple sites and plug and play office space. So.
Yes, KMC.
KMC Solutions, KMC Savills.
If you're through BWC, you'll see their name on at least one building.
We're on a couple of billboards, couple buildings, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 26 locations.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Very big success. Yeah, well done. Guys, can you introduce quick?
Hi, everyone. My name is Frankie Ramirez of
PwC or PSG.
Yeah, I'm from PSG Global Solutions. We're an RPO company. And this is PJ Vergara of Find HR and Russell Del Campo from PSG as well.
Yes, and RPO is recruitment process outsourcing. So this is one of, or maybe the largest, we're claiming, recruitment organization. So they work with companies across the world handling their recruitment for us. So very successful, a very good story. Who else can we go to here? How about you guys? What's your story here, guys?
Hi, yeah. I'm Ralph Ray Dakay Chua. I'm Chairman and President of Immuni Global Incorporated. We're a herbal beverage and pharmaceutical company based in Cebu.
Are you really? And you
Yeah.
came up? Okay.
Yeah, we have an office here also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well done. We've got a big Cebu presence today. The Secretary of Tourism, Martin, and I know others are here that came in. What's your...
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Rochelle. I'm here with the Executive Leadership of the Year Team Award with Vita Rich, CEO Rocco Sarmiento. So I represent Onward Investor Relations, and very nice to meet you, everyone.
Yes, they've done very well over the years. Hi, please come on up.
Hi everyone, I'm Francis Uy with Asher. Yeah, Asher Technologies. Yeah, we're your grand winner for Technology Company of the Year. Sure. So we're invited here. So we're here. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah, it's nice to see everyone, especially the awardees. Those we met last event. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Who can we? Okay, you want to do a?
Hi, my name is Buster Allerson. I represent the Italian Chamber of Commerce and also Proactive Resources, a company that provides services and consultancies for renewable energy and wastewater treatment without using any kind of chemicals. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Cindy.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy Burdette. I'm the CEO, co-founder of insurtech startup called Allcare. We provide complete and total employee benefits experience for freelancers, gig workers, SMEs, startups, name it, we can serve it. I am also this year's awardee for In Life Young Shiro of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good, Cindy. A good story. Who's going to speak? We have our in-life people here. Very prominent for women, female empowerment. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Joy Gonzalez. I'm from In Life, and with me this afternoon is our Chief Marketing Officer, Gay Martinez, and our Senior AVP, Abby Magtibay. Okay, it's great to be here.
Okay, very good. Okay, they're out in force. Very good. Oh, hey, we have our good friend here, Tonichi.
Hello, good morning. My name is Tonichi Parek, Vice President for Concentrix. We won the Wellness Company of the Year. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
This for people who live under a log. This is the country's largest private sector employer with roughly how many employees these days?
100,000 strong.
Wow, so tremendous. And their future, they claim publicly, they want to double their size. So another 100,000 jobs is their goal. So we want to watch them and cheer them on. It's a big contribution.
Manager.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Oh, you too.
Hi, I'm Kat Lisay from Riedel Sever Philippines. So I'm part of the branding and corporate communications team. With me this afternoon is Demi. She's also part of the branding and communications team. So what we do in Riedel Sever Philippines is we provide information solutions for medical and legal professionals here and around the globe.
And also the prime sponsor of the
Top Employer of the Ward.
That is one of the most sought after for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So very good. Okay, thank you. Who else? Who's next here? You guys? Oh yes, okay, come on.
Hi, Richard. Good noon, everyone. I'm Tessa. I'm handling corporate marketing and airspeed. We're one of the sponsors for the Asia CEO Awards, Service Excellence Company of the Year. But aside from that, our chairwoman, Rosemary Rafael, is also one of the nominees, a Circle of Excellence for the Global Leader of the Year. And our executive team is also one of the Circle of Excellence nominees for the Leadership Executive Team of the Year. So for your logistics requirements, please join us in table number 6. We'll meet you later. Thank you.
Very good. You notice we're big on female empowerment, right? Big. Another good example of that. Please welcome Kate.
Hello, everyone. I am Kate Belusilio, Country Head of Kayani Philippines. We are the sponsor for the Wellness Company of the Year. Kayani is an American company, and we help people, ordinary people, begin to live extraordinary lives in the area of beauty, health, wellness. I'm 65 years old. If you want to find out how I can look 40, talk to me. Thank you.
Very good. And Kate has how many children?
I have 8. I'm Kate, mom of 8. Thank you.
Very good. So are we ready? We'll do a little bit more after if you like. How are we doing? Okay, we'll do... Who else? Okay. All right. Okay, good. Lionheart Farms.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cecil Chang with attorney Hazel here representing Lionheart Farms from Palawan. And we just won the Sustainability Company of the Year. Right now, we employ almost 2,000 employees and 80% are proud to say from indigenous peoples of Palawan. Thank you.
Very good. And her husband, who would be here normally, is in Palawan.
He's part of the delegation to welcome the Vice President Harris. Thank you.
So he was all of, I see another. We'll get Arthur. He's always a good talker.
Hi, everyone. I'm Arthur Nowak. I've been in the Philippines for 10 years. I used to work for a very large BPO company during my tenure here, but I just took this magnificent step of becoming an entrepreneur. I'm now co-founder and CEO of Exceed. We are a hyper-growth startup BPO company aiming to combine talent with the digital skills of the future for the BPO world. So,
and he insisted on maintaining his sponsorship of the Diversity Company of the Year award. He previously, I'm allowed to say, previously was Asia Pacific head of T-Tech, Teletech, which was a huge employer, 25,000 people. But he, when his posting ended there, he said, I'm staying in Philippines and want to be part of the Filipino future. So we're glad to have him. Okay. Thanks, guys. So we'll get going. We've got our Secretary of Tourism here and ready to go. Oh, no, not yet? Here I got us all going. Okay. Hello, Secretary. Hi. Lovely to meet you.
Morning.
Good morning to you. We're all set to go? Okay. Okay, I'll just do an introduction. Speaker ROMUALDEZ had a great story about the importance of tourism and his belief in our next speaker. And tourism is probably the biggest opportunity we have, I don't know, or certainly one of, and it's a very exciting situation. So we're pleased that Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco's group really came forth and really wanted to be part of this event. And we're pleased to have her with us. Her team, I must tell, for Secretary Cristina's benefit, they're eager. They were the first to come here, asking all kinds of questions and where's she, all this stuff. So a really good group you have working with you. Sometimes you don't know that as a boss. You wonder what's happening behind the scenes. But these guys are eager. But Secretary Frasco, she is a 3-time elected mayor of Liloan of Cebu, and all kinds of awards for the top model municipality, most resilient municipality, only municipality given the high marks for their audit over and over and so forth. So we've got a good, I think, a good person in the critical tourism sector here. So let's get her going with an interesting story. And it seems like just a lovely person. Please welcome Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco.
Mayong udto kaninyong tanan. Good noon, everyone. Have you had lunch? That's why. First, I would like to express my gratitude to our esteemed and distinguished persons and guests here this afternoon. Asia CEO Events Chairman, Richard Mills. Let's give him a warm round of applause. And President, Ma'am Rebecca Bustamante. Eminent economist, Dr. Bernie Villegas. The leaders of PwC, whom I've had the pleasure of meeting. Also, please give them a round of applause. Sponsors, judges, and awardees of the Asia CEO Awards. Circle of Excellence and Grand Winners. CEOs, senior business leaders present here today. Our friends from the media, distinguished guests, mayong adlaw. I'm truly honored to be given the opportunity to address all of you to speak about the future of tourism. If you don't mind, I'm not going to use the podium because it's a little bit too big and you might not be able to see me fully, so I'll occupy this part of the stage. The question propounded to us is, what is the future of tourism? I'm here to tell you that the future of tourism in the Philippines has begun. And to deliver the good news that as of today, the Department of Tourism, led by our President, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., has exceeded its target of 1.7 million tourists by the end of this year because as of today, we have already received 2.1 million international arrivals into the Philippines. Notwithstanding all the difficulties, upheavals, and challenges that we have faced, we have begun to see an uptick in recovery of tourism destinations as well as tourism numbers. And I'm pleased to inform you that as of today as well, we have already received 130 billion pesos in visitor receipts since we reopened our borders. The future of Philippine tourism is bright. My name is Cristina Frasco. Prior to becoming Secretary of the Department of Tourism, I worked as a mayor of a town in the province of Cebu. In Cebu, the lifeblood of our economy is tourism. I have seen firsthand the benefits that tourism can bring to millions of lives and livelihoods. But I have also personally seen the devastation that the pandemic and various calamities have caused upon our population. And therefore, it is this sense of urgency that I hope to bring into the Department of Tourism, because one day more to wait to recover from the ravages of the pandemic and calamities is one day too late for those whose lives depend on tourism. Our President, Bongbong Marcos Jr., has identified tourism as a priority under his administration. It is his vision for tourism to become a major economic pillar in the resurgence of the Philippines. Towards this vision, we in the Department of Tourism have identified 7 main objectives to fulfill tourism's role in the resurgence of our economy. First, we shall concentrate on infrastructure development and improvement of gateway accessibility. Second, we shall engage in a comprehensive digitalization and connectivity. Third, we aim to enhance the overall tourism experience. Fourth, we shall equalize tourism promotion as well as development. Fifth, we shall diversify our tourism portfolio through multidimensional tourism. Sixth, we shall maximize domestic tourism. Seventh, and finally, we plan to ensure the strengthening of tourism governance through close collaboration between the national government, the local government units across our country, as well as private stakeholders here and abroad, including all of you here today. To fulfill these 7 objectives, we shall engage in 3 key strategies. First, connectivity. Second, convenience. Third, equality. On the aspect of connectivity, we have begun our convergence with other government agencies for the purpose of ensuring that we improve accessibility towards our destinations. We've begun coordination with the Department of Public Works and Highways for the purpose of improving roads, bridges, as well as water systems and drainage systems in our key destinations and emerging destinations. We have also begun the conversation with the Department of Transportation for the purpose of improving the very first impression that tourists have of our country, our airports, as well as our seaports. We will have 3 benchmark projects for this purpose, and that includes NAIA Terminal 2, Cebu City Pier 1, and the Davao International Airport. Primarily, we will focus on improving all the inefficiencies present in these gateways, from the long waiting times, the long lines at immigration, and other aspects that would ensure an improvement in the overall experience of arriving to and departing from the Philippines. The second aspect of this convergence will include an aesthetic improvement of these gateways. And therefore, in the months to come, you will see and feel a tacit manifestation of the Filipino brand in our gateways, as we will improve the interiors to reflect organic materials, Filipino products, furniture, and the like. Next, we shall ensure that we allow our tourists to experience convenience as they come to the Philippines and go around the Philippines. And therefore, we are developing a tourist life cycle app in coordination with the Tourism Promotions Board and the DICT for purposes of providing our tourists with a convenient way with which they can book all the aspects of their trip into and around the Philippines. In addition to this, we are also establishing a tourist assistance call center, a hotline that you can call should you encounter any difficulties as you travel around the Philippines. In addition, I'm pleased to inform you that beginning this year, we have broken ground on tourist rest areas across our regions to be able to provide our tourists with one of the most basic components of any journey, but also one of the most neglected: clean and decent restrooms. Our tourist rest areas will have clean and decent restrooms, a tourist information center, as well as a pasalubong center that will provide local products from local artisans and makers. We're doing this in partnership with our local government units, as well as the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Authority, Zone Authority, or TIAZA. I'm pleased to inform you that we have already broken ground on these tourist rest areas, first in Manolo Fortich in Bukidnon, to manifest the seriousness with which we intend to reopen Mindanao to tourism, as well as Samal Island in Davao del Norte. We have also broken ground on 2 tourist areas in the province of Cebu, including the municipalities of Carmen as well as Medellin. In December, we will proceed to break ground on further tourist rest areas that include the areas of Baguio, Palawan, Bohol, as well as Ilocos Norte. This is only the beginning, as our President intends to put up these tourist rest areas across our 16 regions all over the Philippines. In addition, we intend to equalize tourism product development across our local government units. Our beautiful country is endowed with 7,641 islands, over 80 provinces, 16 regions, over 100 cities, and over 1,400 municipalities. We have a wealth of offerings, and therefore, it is incumbent upon us in the national government to offer its expertise, its experience, and its help to the local government units that are all too eager to work with us for their destinations to be discovered by our tourists. For this reason, and towards the end of equalizing tourism, product, promotion, and development, we have launched the Philippine Experience, a heritage, culture, and arts caravan that we're taking across our 16 regions for the purpose of offering our local government units advice as well as assistance on the cultural and heritage mapping of their areas, product mapping, a focus on further developing their creative industries, and the like. The outcome of which will be that we will be able to offer our tourists both locally and internationally tour packages that will give them a view not only of the destination itself, but also of all the other dimensions of this destination, including our festivals, our food, our products, and the like. This program was inspired by the Suruy Suruy Sugbo, founded in my home province of Cebu, which has allowed tourists to have a view of all of the over 50 LGUs in Cebu. In addition to this, we are very cognizant of the fact that security, health, and hygiene are top of mind in terms of the tourist experience in the Philippines. For this reason, we have already begun the conversation with the Department of Interior and Local Government for the purpose of the continuation of our tourist police program. But we wish to expand this program by coordinating as well with the peace auxiliary forces of our local government units, and the DOT will train even the barangay tanods, so that they can assist the tourist police in securing our destinations. Next, we shall ensure that the availability of health facilities is given attention in our destinations. For this reason, we have already conducted a due diligence of our key destinations so that we will be able to identify which areas are in need of tertiary and emergency facilities and work with the Department of Health towards ensuring that emergency services are readily available for our tourists. We're also closely working with the DICT for the purpose of improving Wi-Fi connectivity in our key destinations, recognizing as well the trend of digital nomads wanting to work away from home and wanting to work in tropical climates such as the Philippines. Since the beginning of the administration of President Marcos, we have made the effort to reach out as far as possible to various stakeholders of the tourism industry. We have engaged in listening tours across our regions as well as outside of the country to get real world from the ground insight on what it is that tourism industry stakeholders need and want to be able to improve enabling conditions of coming into the Philippines. The idea being that we're no longer interested in reclaiming our pre-pandemic position. Rather, we are interested in exceeding this position and allowing the Philippines to take a primary position tourism-wise in the ASEAN as well as globally, because our fellow Filipinos deserve nothing less. Do you agree? We have high hopes in the future of tourism in the Philippines. First, because our president has identified tourism as a priority. Second, because we have laid down these clear objectives and plans towards the president's vision. Third, and finally, because we live in a beautiful country that is unmatched all over the world. In fact, notwithstanding all the adversities that we have faced, the Philippines continues to be a top-of-mind destination all over the world. The World Travel Awards has recently awarded the Philippines Asia's leading beach destination as well as the world's leading beach destination. The same award-giving body also recently awarded the Philippines Asia's leading beach destination as well as the world's leading beach destination. We have been adjudged one of the 40 best countries in the world, specifically citing the Chocolate Hills in Bohol, the subterranean river in Palawan, as well as the beautiful shores of Boracay. And of course, 3 of our islands have been identified as 3 of the 25 best islands in the world, citing Cebu, Palawan, and again, Boracay. Boracay, of course, has been cited by Time magazine as one of the top 100 greatest places on earth. I could go on and on. There is no doubt about how blessed we are to live in this beautiful country. only that there is a lot of work that needs to be done so that we can finally take the primary position that we have longed for and know that we deserve. You can rest assured that under the Marcos administration, because tourism is a priority, the livelihoods that emanate from tourism is also a priority. Recently, we have inked and implemented a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Labor and Employment for purposes of putting up the very first Philippine National Tourism Job Fairs, entitled Trabajo, Turismo, Ascenso. We held it in September. Thank you. With a simultaneous launch in Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao. And it offered up to 9,000 tourism-related jobs to our fellow Filipinos. This will be a multi-month campaign that aims to address the present 12,000-person workforce shortage in the tourism industry, according to the Department of Labor and Employment. We will also continue to capacitate our tourism workers by continuing the Filipino brand of service excellence, capacity building towards our workers across our 16 regions. And therefore, I will not further elongate this because I still have a lot of work to do, but I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon, knowing that you all play a role in helping us revitalize the tourism industry. I invite all of you to partner with us as we put in the work of accomplishing our goals for our country and accomplishing the vision of our President for the revitalization of tourism in the Philippines. Daghang salamat kaninyong tanan.
We request the good secretary to please remain on stage for the presentation of the token. We would like to call on the Vice President and Head of PLDT Enterprise, Mr. Chet Alvis, to present the trophy to the Secretary of the Department of Tourism, Cristina Garcia Frasco.
Can we request all the sponsors to please come on the stage to join for the photo op, please?
More the merrier,
How can we do it?
Customs and logistics. We all know during the pandemic that logistics saved us, and customs is a big part of the country's success. We really need to have customs working well and world class and all that kind of stuff. And we are pleased what we've been hearing from our next speaker, Commissioner YOGI Ruiz. He has spent years in the government, previously with the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. He's a guy who gets things done, and his previous position with the Bureau of Customs was in enforcement and security services. So he has stated publicly he is going after smuggling, and this is his big issue. And I know there's quite a number of people from the logistics industry here today, specifically to see Commissioner Ruiz. We spent a little bit of time with him, and he was referred to us through other friends, and just a really pleasant, decent fellow, honorable, and he's got a big job ahead of him. So we really, really wish him well with everything that he is doing and will do. So if we're ready, let's go. Please welcome one of the most high-profile people in this government is Commissioner YOGI FILEMON RUIZ of the Bureau of Customs. Very good.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you too, sir. You're okay with that?
Yes, sir. I'm okay with this. Thank you, Asia CEO Events, for having me. Good afternoon to my co-speakers, the Honorable Martin Romualdez, the Speaker of the House, the Secretary of Tourism, Cristina Frasco, the esteemed Dr. Bernie Villegas, to the organizers, sponsors, guests, and to all our participants in this forum. Today, I will be sharing with you our accomplishments in the Bureau of Customs and our plans as we envision to make the world a better place for Filipinos. I accepted this invitation sent to me last week with great interest to meet you all and share with you in this grand event the steps undertaken by the Bureau in support of the 8-point socio-economic agenda of our President, Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. Our work in the Bureau of Customs centers around these 4 focus areas: to improve revenue collection, enhance trade facilitation and collaboration, strengthen border control, and promote good governance and anti-corruption campaigns. Aligned with our vision of a modernized and credible customs administration that is among the world's best, we in the Bureau of Customs commits to implement measures to eliminate bottlenecks, prevent revenue leakages, and combat corruption and smuggling. These measures include the digitalization of customs processes and the implementation of sound policies that would improve collection of lawful revenues, streamline customs procedures, and strengthen border security. In the area of improved revenue collection, we surpassed our year-to-date collection target as of October 31, 2022. In total, we collected 714 billion pesos from January 1 to October 31 of this year, which is 18.5% above target for the period, which amounts to 111 billion pesos. Compared with the 494 billion pesos collection for the same period last year, our revenue collection increased by 35.7%. The BOC's positive revenue collection performance is attributed to the improved valuation, intensified enforcement operations against illegal importations, improved compliance by traders to customs laws, the gradual improvement of importation volume, and the government's effort in ensuring unhampered movement of goods. I am glad to share with you that all our collection districts have surpassed their collection targets, and they continue to maintain an upward trajectory in the revenue collection operations. The Port of Batangas, Manila International Container Port, and Port of Limay topped the ranking in terms of actual collection with a combined share of 432 billion pesos, which accounted for 60.4% of the total revenue collected from January 1 to October 31 of this year. With the rapid growth of international trade, we give priority to facilitate trade and improve our collaboration in key areas within the global supply chain. Throughout my 100 days of incumbency as the Commissioner of Customs, here are some of the most instrumental steps taken and maintained by the Bureau to enhance trade facilitation and collaboration. Pursuant to the marching orders of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to put greater emphasis on technological innovations and enhancing the delivery of public services, we committed to accelerate the implementation of ICT systems and modernization programs. In fact, 91% or 155 out of the 170 of our customs processes have already been automated. Our ICT projects, aligned with the ease of doing business law and the trade facilitation agreement, enabled us to provide a more efficient and transparent delivery of government services. A lot more is expected to be attained with the realization of customs modernization projects, and we will continue to push for our digitalization efforts until we achieve a fully paperless customs and trade procedures, which we believe to make international transactions more efficient and transparent while improving regulatory compliance. In achieving full compliance with best practices in trade facilitation, we are continuously monitoring and completing our commitments to the World Customs Organization Mercator Program. The WCO Mercator Program is aimed at assisting governments worldwide to implement trade facilitation measures and in a harmonized manner by using core WCO instruments, such as the revised Kyoto Convention. It also ensures connectivity at borders and along the international supply chains in order to provide a consolidated platform for advancing the smooth flow of goods being traded around the world. We have been enrolled in the program since 2019 and have already completed 17 out of 27 recommended measures by the WCO, with 89% compliance as of October of 2022. But we are not stopping from this success until we attain 100% compliance in the program, as we aim to complete our remaining activities by the end of 2022. Together with the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or the UNSCAP, we co-hosted the National Single Window Summit with the aim to further expedite the advancement of the Philippine National Single Window for the effective and efficient implementation of simplified, harmonized, and automated trade procedures. During the interactive panel discussions, single window experts from the Republic of Korea, Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand shared their experiences and underscored the numerous factors that need to be taken into full consideration when developing a single window system, such as cross-border e-commerce, paperless trade, application of innovative and emerging technologies, among others. The next generation of the Philippine National Single Window will make headway in underpinning and boosting the country's recognition of electronic data and documents towards a cross-border paperless trade environment, making it easier to do business and enabling micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to gain competitive advantage in international markets. For a continued collaboration and to further facilitate trade and ease bottlenecks, we are actively engaging and contributing to the establishment of better relations with our development partners and port operators. One such initiative is our meeting with port operators, which led to the creation of a technical working group with the end goal to streamline and improve the conduct of non-intrusive inspection at the piers. Together with the U.S. Agency for International Development, or the USAID, we recently kicked off the electronic phytosanitary management system, and we will be holding the ceremonial launch of the ASEAN Customs Declaration Document Management Portal next month. We also have another initiative lined up with the UNSCAP for the conduct of a feasibility study for the Philippines on the electronic exchange of trade-related data and documents with other Asian countries, which contribute towards the progress of the Philippines in the adoption of cross-border paperless trade. Just recently, I had the honor to present at the Transport and Logistics Forum 2022, organized by the Italian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, where I shared the accomplishments of the Bureau of Customs and discussed our initiatives on easing bottlenecks and safeguarding revenue for the country. In our continued collaborative endeavors with development partners, we are reassured of the International Trade Center of our commitment to the 4 priority areas of support under the RISE Plus Philippines, which aims to foster inclusive economic growth in the Philippines through improved international trade performance and competitiveness. This commitment supports a greater economic integration between the Philippines and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, in line with the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint of 2025. While the Bureau is constantly expanding its horizon and improving international collaboration, we are also simultaneously strengthening our border control measures to safeguard the welfare of the general public. In line with the mandates of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., we are devoted to constantly foster our border control initiatives in exercising supervision and police authority under our jurisdictional control to curb the smuggling of agricultural goods, illegal drugs, fuel, among others. Through our strengthened risk profiling and inspection protocols, we initiated a total of 599 seizures, 131 of which were initiated during my first 100 days in service, amounting to an estimated value of 4.6 billion pesos. Among the seized goods include illegal drugs, agricultural products, counterfeit goods, used clothing, cigarettes, among others. Following our continuous partnership with the BIR, we have successfully marked 14.4 billion liters of petroleum products and collected an estimated 186 billion pesos in revenue from January to October of this year. We have also established and reconstituted several offices such as the Customs, Firearms and Explosives Unit to monitor compliance with regulations pursuant to RA 10591, and the Enforcement Motor Vehicle Monitoring and Clearance Office for the issuance of certificates to maintain a database of all motor and electric vehicles, as well as used engines imported into the country, for a quick exchange of information with other law enforcement agencies and the international community. Finally, our Customs Operations Center is now fully institutionalized through the issuance of CMO 25-2022, which serves as a fusion center to integrate and analyze intelligence enforcement and operational information gathered from various sources. At the forefront of the Bureau's good governance and anti-corruption campaigns, continuity of performance monitoring and evaluation of officials and personnel are given paramount importance to achieve government service excellence. In this regard, we undertake to attend to our internal and external affairs promptly to ensure that all concerns are resolved expeditiously. We in the Bureau of Customs pledge to provide quality and efficient government services and commits to maintaining the highest standards of quality management through attaining ISO Quality Management System certifications for all our collection districts and offices. To standardize quality policies which optimize organizational performance, promote cost efficiencies, and improve stakeholder satisfaction. At present, 17 of our collection districts and offices are now ISO 9001:2015 certified, while the rest are in various stages of the ISO compliance process. Guided by the principles of professionalism, integrity, and accountability, we also seek to champion the mainstreaming of human capital management, gender and development, and social responsibility programs. In the area of promoting gender and development, we also participated in the World Customs Organization Human Capital Management Global Conference to learn measures to promote human-centered approach in the context of customs administration and other public and private organizations. We are now taking steps in implementing a human-centered approach for the general welfare and development of customs personnel. I am also thankful for the recognition we received from the Civil Service Commission Contact Center ng Bayan, which recognized the Bureau as one of the top 10 government agencies with the highest complaints resolution rate, having been able to resolve 517 out of 542 complaints, or posting a resolution rate of 95%. Through the continuous positive trajectory of revenue collection by the Bureau of Customs, the government can maintain peace and order, build necessary infrastructures, and fund projects to foster the general welfare of the public. Amid the growing importance of social responsibility, social responsibility is no longer a nice to have, need to have. We are focusing on how we can give back and make positive influences in the community beyond our daily routine at work. As we extend our efforts to champion the mainstreaming of the worldwide agenda for sustainable goals, we have the CSR initiative themed Ikaw, Ako, at ang BOC, which involves programs to serve our stakeholders and uphold the public interest. As I end my presentation, allow me to share with you our strategic map for a modernized and credible customs administration that is among the world's best. I apologize, the font is a bit small, but you can look it up at www.customs.gov.ph. We have proudly achieved our target position of a transparent, responsive, and competent customs administration by 2022. And to keep this momentum, we are setting our sights in improving the strategy map with the objective of realigning our position, core processes, and support measures. With your support and active involvement, I trust that together we can achieve this vision for the Bureau of Customs and to make meaningful impact to the growth of our economy. Security of our borders and earn public trust and confidence para sa makabagong aduana at matatag na ekonomiya. Mabuhay po kayong lahat, mabuhay po ang aduana, mabuhay po ang bansang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po.
We would like to request the Commissioner to please remain on stage as you will be presented with a token of appreciation. And we now call on the Vice President, Head of PLDT Enterprise, Mr. Chet Alvis.
Thank you so much, sir.
We also like to call all our sponsors to please join the Commissioner and Mr. Alvis on stage for a photo op.
Next natin si VILLEGAS. Pag nagsasalita na, kain na tayo. Paano yun?
We will be seeing a lot more of Commissioner YOGI Ruiz, a very high-profile fella he will be for the foreseeable future, at least while he's with BOC. We wish him well. We hear very sincere reports. Organizations that are having difficulty have contacted him and his office, and things happen to fix things and streamline things. He is focused on improvement and change. So we wish him more than luck. Very difficult. Don't expect change overnight. What he's dealing with is a very difficult situation, but he is committed to make an impact. So we're really pleased he was here as well today. And we've got such nice, good people here with us today as speakers and attendees. So we're really glad about that. Our next speaker, everybody seems to talk about him, Dr. Bernie Villegas. I was pleased when Speaker of the House Martin Romualdez talks about how he uses his material. The president reads his book and uses his material. And I got to say, many times I have used his material because he talks about demographics, which is a key aspect of the success of most countries, and Philippines in particular has this Goldilocks era where really everything is coming together to really put Philippines on the global map as one of the world's great growth destinations. So sometimes people tell me, Richard, how do you know all of this? That's so smart. How do you? And all I'm doing is just the same thing Martin talked about, is reciting exactly those same things that Bernie introduced me to years ago. So his book is for sale. I can see people going up to get signatures. I want to get one as well. But please, anybody, he's gracious enough to sign his book for us. But this is a key. He's been an advisor to 6, 7 presidents by now, maybe 8. I'm not quite sure. He led the committee that wrote the nation's constitution. He has been a major factor in the nation's economy all of his life, pretty much, of his adult life, certainly. So, and he just keeps on going. He's not, I'll just say, Bernie, he's not a spring chicken, but his mind just keeps going. How does that happen? Just still today, we had him a couple of years ago speak for us in Toronto, and we didn't know what to expect, and he knocked him down. Just vibrance and energy. And so, always exciting speaker. And I think out of all of our speakers for 15 years, I think he still maybe holds the record for the most number of attendees. This was years ago. I think maybe Duterte beat you. I'm not sure, but it was close. I'm not. So please welcome a special guest and a good friend, Dr. Bernie Villegas, with material that you can use when you're speaking to investors and your own people. I have used this. Everybody, the president is. Okay. You okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much, Richard. Sponsors and awardees of the Asia CEO Forum, the Honorable Commissioner Ruiz, members of the business community, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, after listening to our 3 distinguished speakers, I'm sure you'll agree with me that you don't need a prophet of boom to be optimistic about the future of the Philippine economy, both near-term and long-term. In fact, I sent Richard a PowerPoint presentation of more than 30 slides, which I'm sure you will agree we will not have to cover. You know, economists can even be worse than politicians. You give them the mic and they can speak for hours and hours. Now, I'm not going to use the PowerPoint presentation, but I give Richard and Rebecca the freedom to send them to you who would want to see the data supporting the statements that I will be making. As an economist, I'm very conscious of the fact that we should not expect audiences like you to take our word without looking at evidence, data, especially coming from very independent think tanks from all over the world. And that is what my PowerPoint presentation contains. Tables, charts, and all sorts of information coming from Goldman Sachs, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, the Oxford Economics Institute, the Japan Credit Rating Agency, name it. Institutions completely independent of the Philippine government. I made it a point not to cite any data coming from us, whether public or private, so they're not suspected as self-serving. And you will see in this data that for more than 10 years now, we have lost our reputation happily as the sick man of Asia. If any one of you is still with the inferiority complex that the Philippines is the sick man of Asia, please get rid of it. For more than 10 years now, we have been cited as one of the most promising emerging markets, not only in the Indo-Pacific region, but in the rest of the world. Now, let me cite the most recent comparative data coming from the World Bank. In fact, it was already cited by Speaker ROMUALDEZ. And this was before the 7.6 growth in the third quarter that surprised everyone, including an optimist like me. I never expected that in the third quarter, with all the natural calamities, and still the hesitation to transition to a post-pandemic scenario, that we would get 7.6%. I'm sure you know that the dragon of Asia, China, is growing only at 3 to 4%. And so it was really an astounding accomplishment. Together, of course, to be more or less unbiased, together with Vietnam. Right now, it's Vietnam and the Philippines that are neck to neck in terms of GDP growth. And to be honest, I think Vietnam will surpass us for the whole year. And the reason is because Vietnam, over the last 10 to 15 years, part of that time we were still a segment of Asia, had been focusing on countryside and agricultural development, and has been completely open to foreign direct investments, while we were still talking about Filipino first. Foreigners can own only 40% of any investment in strategic infrastructures and so on and so forth. You know exactly what I mean. One of the legacies that Duterte will be remembered for is the amendment of the Public Service Act. So that's the first thing I would like to cite as a reason for being very optimistic about attracting foreign investments in the next 5 to 6 years. And I'm so glad to see President Marcos Jr. traveling all over the world, telling people, please come and invest. I don't mind if he sees as many car races as he wants to, as long as he's constantly networking with people. In fact, I was amused that even in Cambodia and Myanmar, which economies are still way behind us, he was telling people, please come to the Philippines to invest. You can see the effort he's exerting. Why do I refer to this very important portion of the economy? Because I guarantee that in the next 5 to 6 years, even if the Philippine economy goes into autopilot, 6 to 7% GDP growth rate is already sure. And in fact, even if those who are still thinking, with whom I disagree, who are still thinking that we elected the wrong president, even if they're right, 6 to 7% is going to be delivered by the inherent strengths, institutions, and human resources that we already have. Between 2011 and 2019, and you'll see this in the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sure you remember 2011, 2019. Why do I refer to that decade? Because that is the decade when we were no longer considered the sick man of Asia. If you remember that period, half of that was still Noi Noi. 2011 to 2016. 2016, 2019, just before the pandemic, was Duterte. I'm sure you will agree with me that the two presidents couldn't be more different in all types of personal qualities. I will not elaborate. However, despite very varying forms of personal and public leadership, year in and year out, from 2011 to 2019, the economy grew at 6 to 7%. Conclusion, to a certain extent, we can make the occupant of Malacanang irrelevant. As long as they do what our presidents have been doing for the last 30 years, always appointing to the key positions that have to do with the economy the best and the brightest. And you have seen a demonstration, without meaning to flatter, two of them today in the cabinet of President Marcos Jr. And let me also say, it's not only the executive. Our first speaker is a demonstration that we also have some of the best and the brightest in legislators. Let me just remind you, if some of you are still doubtful about this statement, that we always have had the best and the brightest, no matter what the quality of our president was. Who was our worst president? I can say this on evidence that he was impeached after 2 years of being president. I'm sure you know whom I'm referring to. Under him, who were members? Diokno. Now being praised to high heavens. In fact, as you know, during the term of Duterte, he was voted by international organization as the best government governor in the world, not only in the Asia Pacific. And since at least people like Joey Quisha and company, whom you very well know, almost year in and year out, our governors, whether it was Tetanco, whether it was Benaventura, and so on and so forth, were always considered among the best governors in Southeast Asia. So I cite those data to just illustrate that that is not whistling in the dark. That is based on facts. And why do I refer to this very important historical evidence? Because over 30 years, because we have had the best and the brightest leading the economic agencies, slowly but surely, I will use Cebuano because Secretary Frasco used Cebuano, hinay-hinay pero kadunay. I'm sure the Cebuanos here know exactly what I'm saying. We were building stronger institutions, correcting economic errors, especially as regards an inward-looking, protectionist, anti-market policies that lasted for too long, which unfortunately had been enshrined in the Philippine Constitution. As you very well know, there are still restrictions in the Philippine Constitution that were not remedied by the amendment of the Public Service Act. No foreigner can own even 1% in media, according to our Constitution. No foreigner can own land, according to our Constitution. And it's going to take a lot of effort to change that. But precisely, I thought that the people under Duterte was very clever in being able to address part of the problem, investing in airports, investing in telecoms, investing in subways, investing in so many strategic infrastructures by just redefining what a public utility is. And that is why they're no longer public utilities, they are public services, and you can have 100% foreign investor from Spain. For example, Spain, in the form of Acciona, one of the largest infrastructure companies in Spain that own and operate airports in the US, in Germany, in many developed countries, is very interested in looking at some of our airports to own and operate them. I'm so glad that I was able to confirm all the bright prospects that were described by Secretary Frasco. Just by coincidence, in the last 10 days, I had to travel to Boracay to give a briefing to the Association of IT BPM sector, and I'm sure many of you belong to that sector. Incidentally, I was so pleased to hear them so bullish about their sector. They will add 1 million more people to their sector between now and 2028. And they will bring their foreign exchange earnings from about $31 billion today to more than $50 billion by 2028. And I saw their assumptions as very realistic. In fact, there are 3 engines of growth that make me very confident about the 6 to 7% growth I have forecasted. Number 1 would be the 10 million or more overseas workers. We have sending $36 billion of remittances to the relatives. Multiply that by 57, 58. My forecast, don't believe in those who say the peso will be a senior citizen. No way. It will not reach 60. As I watch Governor Medalla and company aggressively increasing interest rates, and if there's one thing the central bank has perfected, it is the art of inflation targeting. By the end of the year, they will bring back the exchange rate to between 57 to 58, which still is very good for the overseas workers' relatives. In fact, I thought it was unjust for us to keep that exchange rate below 50 for too long. These 10 million workers are sweating it out, and they're rewarding them with a strong peso. That's not the way to manage the foreign exchange sector. I think 57, 58 is a good balance between these relatives and overseas workers getting what they deserve and our controlling inflation so that imported articles which are necessary will not be too expensive. So as you know, managing the macroeconomy is always a balancing act. And I think 57 to 58 is the right foreign exchange rate given market forces. Second engine of growth, I already mentioned it, and I'm sure many of you belong to it, BPO IT sector. Gradually transitioning from voice-oriented customer relations industries, which are the easiest to robotize, which are the easiest to replace by artificial intelligence. And that is why I was so glad to hear from that conference in Boracay the 3 words: reskilling, upskilling, and retooling workers. Incidentally, that's my advice to all of you top executives. Focus in the next 3 to 5 years on upskilling, reskilling, and retooling your workforce. Forget MBAs, forget Bachelor of Science. In fact, I was so pleased to hear one of the top executives of the BPO sector, this time in Puerto Princesa. As I said, I was in Boracay, but I was in Puerto Princesa up to about 3 days ago. So I was there before Vice President Harris. It was a conference with the Palawan Business Club, and one of the speakers, I'm sure you know her, Heidi Enriquez, who was the one who established CITEL in Puerto Princesa. I was amused when she was just illustrating the point that we should forget BS, AB, etc., because she said most of the time all these BS courses are BS. And I agree. We have overemphasized college diplomas, college degrees, and so on and so forth. Secretary of Trade and Industry, Fred Pascual, has been shouting to the 4 winds, forget degrees. Focus on competencies and skills, no matter how you get them. And that is definitely a very good advice to all of you. Don't look at whether or not an applicant has a college degree. Ask, what skills do you have? What competency do you have? What experience do you have? In fact, I was so glad to hear an entrepreneur who is making a lot of money in animation. As you know, Filipinos are some of the best drawers. We are supplying Japan for their anime industry. He was so proud when he said, none of my 100 workers has a college degree. And I think that was a very good signal to a lot of employers. So you have the first two, overseas workers and BPO IT. The third is exactly what we heard from Secretary Frasco. Tourism accounts for 12% of Philippine GDP, starting with domestic tourism. In fact, I'm sure you know that even at the height of the pandemic, some people were just so uncomfortable staying home that we already saw an uptick in domestic tourism. Let me just remind you that just going from Manila to Fuenteventura to Matabungkay to the Cebu is domestic tourism. And that was, in fact, a lot of people were living in those areas. They were domestic tourists because they had their homes in the Marinas, in Forbes Park, and so on and so forth. And many of you, I'm sure, even without living in these plush subdivisions, spent a lot of time in the beaches. Do you know that before the pandemic, 60 million Filipinos were traveling out of their home to another destination in the Philippines? These are by right called domestic tourists. And I tell you, in those two trips I made to Boracay and Puerto Princesa, I can really vouch for the phrases revenge traveling and revenge spending. And as Speaker Romualdez mentioned, if in the third quarter we already attained 7.6%, in the fourth quarter the growth rate will be closer to 8%. Because what period of the year do people spend a lot, celebrate a lot, travel a lot? And we don't even to count on the foreigners coming back, or even in the overseas workers visiting their families. Just Filipinos who are already here, you can be sure. From November to December, even to part of January, you will have a lot of consumption-oriented growth in GDP. So, my first forecast for 2022, our GDP average will be more than 7.7%. Why do I say that? Because already, up to now, the 3 quarters, you add all the growth rates in 3 quarters, the average is already 7.7%. So 8% is very doable for the whole year, and we might still beat Vietnam. I don't know what the Vietnamese are saying, but we may still beat Vietnam for 2022. But as you go towards the next 3 to 5 years, Vietnam has stronger institutions and policies that will make them lead growth in Southeast Asia. Now, let me talk about the upside. What is the upside? The Philippine economy under President Marcos Jr. may see an 8 to 10% growth in GDP if we're able to focus on just 3 strategic directions. One, and that's why I'm glad he's the Secretary of Agriculture, if he can deliver a growth of the agricultural sector of just 2 to 3% every year for the next 4 to 5 years, that will be one contribution to an acceleration of our growth to 8 to 10%. Why do I say 2 to 3%? Because if you study the whole of Southeast Asia, even the agricultural dynamos like Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, only grow their agriculture at 2 to 3% every year. It's very difficult to grow agriculture faster than 2 to 3%. So that's my first assignment, quote unquote, to President Marcos Jr. And what is the good news? The good news is in his first quarter as president, we already attained, as was mentioned by Speaker Romualdez, 2.2%. For those of you who have been following agriculture, over the last 5 years, there were at least 6 quarters in which GDP attributed to agriculture actually had -1, -0.5, or even 0. But in the first quarter of the presidency of Bongbong Marcos Jr., agriculture grew at 2.2%. So he started on the right foot. First requirement. Second requirement, and that's why I said I'm so glad that he is really all over the world getting foreigners to come here. We have to increase the rate of our investment to GDP from the low of 20 to 22% to the average of East Asia, which is between the 30 to 40%. Singapore obviously has 40% of its GDP in investment. We have been traditionally investing 20 to 20% of our GDP. Now, I'm sure you will agree with me that in the next 3 years at least, our local investors, no matter how many Ramon Angs you have, no matter how many Ricky Razons you have, no matter how many Manny Pangilinans you have, will not be able to fill the vacuum that the government will have, because the government is buried in debt. And the build program of President Duterte cannot be sustained by government spending alone. The government, as you were told by Speaker ROMUALDEZ, has to bring down our debt to GDP ratio to less than 60%, and hopefully by the end of the Marcos administration, Marcos Jr. administration, we will be back to 30%, which is what the rate was before the pandemic. That will take a lot of work of Commissioner Ruiz and company to make sure our revenues go up. And the only way we can continue build is precisely to get foreigners to build our airports, our subways, our trains, name it. And that, incidentally, is also what we have to do, graduating from just farm-to-market roads, irrigation systems, bridges, and so on and so forth, which were mostly the components of the build program of President Duterte. Incidentally, let me just make a side remark. I was in a private sector board of advisor to Mark Villar as Secretary of Public Works and Highways. And just apropos something that you read about a debate going on in the Senate, I can attest to the fact that the Duterte administration spent more than 90% of the budget for public works in the countryside, in farm-to-market roads. And their philosophy was, and I saw that at close range, precisely because we met as private sector representatives with Mark Villar, their philosophy was, if Manila wants better skyways, Cebu wants better airports, etc., let Manny Pangilinan, let Ricky Razon, let Ramon Ang, let Mega Wide do it. What we will do is use government funds on agricultural and countryside development. So I think it was unfair for one of the senators to hint that they were spending money in the urban areas. That was not true. Just for subdivisions and so on and so forth. I can speak independently because I was there as a private sector representative, really making sure that the last administration of the Department of Public Works was doing the right thing. And for those of you who have heard me for many decades, I was like a broken record. Farm-to-market roads, irrigation systems, post-harvest facilities. And it was only during the Duterte administration that I saw a tremendous improvement there, because I'm sure those of you who have followed our government budget, for years we spent only 2% of GDP on infrastructure. Duterte raised it to 5 to 6%. One last homework for President Marcos Jr., for us to accelerate growth to 8 to 10%. Make a significant improvement in fighting corruption, attaining good governance. And again, I'm so glad to hear Commissioner Ruiz describe, and this is not to flatter him, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. He showed us record increases in customs collection over the last 2 to 3 years. I partly attribute that to a very sound partnership that the Bureau of Customs had with a private NGO called the Institute for Governance, corporate governance, whose last president was Secretary Fred Pascual. That institute partnered with a number of government agencies to improve the culture of integrity and honesty. And as you know, the Bureau of Customs had been very notorious as one of the most corrupt agencies in the past. Well, see, I don't expect you to just believe the words of the people working with Bureau of Customs. They showed it by actually showing those tremendous increases in their collections. So that's an example. If we are able to do that in as many of the government agencies, including the Department of Education, you may not think of that as a place where you have to focus, but I know for a fact that Sara Duterte, that is his main concern now, to be able to make sure that textbooks, textbook materials, all those hanky-panky that we used to hear about the Department of Education will not happen under her watch. And do you know his number one advisor, just to show you that it is a realistic goal, is the feisty security advisor of President Marcos Jr. Those of you from UV know exactly whom I'm referring to. Clarita Carlos. If you meet her, you know what I mean. No nonsense lady. And to have her as the advisor of Sara Duterte to fight corruption is very assuring. So, in summary, agriculture, 2 to 3%. Investment to GDP ratio, at least 30 to 32%, mostly coming from foreign direct investments. And finally, a significant improvement in the integrity of our government agencies. If we're able to do those things, 8 to 10%, which will accelerate our becoming a first world economy even before 2040. I chose 2040 because that was what NEDA said during the Duterte administration in their document called Ambisyon Natin 2040. So their target was to make us first world. Just to be safe, I say the decade of 2040 to 2050. So anytime during that decade. But if our growth rate becomes 8 to 10%, it can even be before 2040. How do we become first world? Speaker ROMUALDEZ already mentioned that under President Marcos Jr., we will transition from a low middle income economy to an upper middle income economy. And what is the threshold? $4,000 per capita. That's the World Bank requirement. So between now and probably 2025, we will cross the threshold. $4,000 per capita. Now, $4,000 per capita should transition to more than $12,000 per capita if we want to be considered high income or first world. And that will happen. Those of you who know compounded growth rate, you can use your calculator. If we grow at 6 to 7%, and even more at 8 to 10% in the next 20 years, we will transition from $4,000 to $12,000 easily. And so I always tell people who graduate from our university, they are mostly centennials and millennials. They are so fortunate because they will see exactly the opposite of what we senior citizens saw. You know what I mean. The baby boomers, Generation X, in the 1950s and 1960s, we were told by international economists, the Philippines is going to be, together with Burma, think of how economists can be wrong, the ones that will follow Japan first in Asia to be a first world economy. They were very wrong. Because we saw ourselves from one of the most promising economies in Asia to become the sick man of Asia. And the explanation is not corruption. South Korea is still very corrupt, and South Korea is first world. I'm not saying this to justify corruption. I'm just saying that the main reason for economic backwardness is stupid economic policy. Wrong priorities. No agriculture, no rural development, inward-looking import substitution, protectionist. These were what brought us down. Of course, we also have to fight corruption. When I fight corruption, it's not because of economic reasons. We have to fight corruption because it is immoral, period. Whether or not it leads to economic development. And so, this is the short term and the long term of the Philippines. Those of you who are below 50, if you take care of your health, you will see the Philippines as a first world economy. You know, I mentioned Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. It was the first to make a forecast all the way up to 2050. And those of you who saw it, it will be in my PowerPoint. In the forecast of Hong Kong Shanghai Bank in 2050, the Philippines will be the 16th largest economy in the world, surpassing Indonesia, Australia, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and so on and so forth. When I presented that forecast to audiences like you, I usually get responses like, Dr. Villegas, please, don't tell us about 2050. We will not be there to see it. Do you know what I tell them? Speak for yourselves. My mother lived up to 102. So I may be there with some of you to see 2050. Thank you very much.
Dr. Bernie Villegas, please remain on stage as Richard Mills joins you in endorsing your book.
This is it. So I am going to read all of this as I have with Bernie's other material, but it's for sale outside. Not that we need to sell it, but I will be buying this, and I don't know, we can get a signature if we want. But yeah, so really, this is material you can use, and I will send out the presentation that I will be using. And so if you don't get it, just send me an email or get it from somebody, and I'll send it out, okay? But we're really pleased to have Bernie as always. So please, come on up.
We now call on PLDT Enterprise Vice President and Head, Mr. Chet Alvis, to present the token of appreciation to Dr. Bernie Villegas. And we request all our sponsors to join them on stage for the traditional photo op.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much to all the sponsors and winners. We have a special book for you. It's outside waiting. Okay, you just ask for the copy of your book signed by Dr. Bernie. It's a special gift for you guys from the Asia CEO organizers. Yes, all right. Thank you, Dr. Bernie, okay? And everybody, thank you so much for this. Today is the last event of the year. And we want to say thank you to all our sponsors for continuously sponsoring and supporting the HSCO events. Without you, these things will never happen. Masaya ba kayo? Yes. And to all the Circle of Excellence winners, remember the speaker's messages. Our goal is to be First World Philippines. Tama ba yon? So now you have a big responsibilities. What's your big responsibilities? To go out there and share. Bakit kayo naging Circle of Excellence at paano kayo naging winners? Okay ba yon? In order for you to inspire others. Kasi yun talaga, tulungan tayo para yung pagbabago ng Pilipinas to be a first world Philippines. Sabi ni Dr. Bernie, 2040. I rejected that. Kasi sabi ko, 2030, right? Kaya natin yon kasi look at that. Domino effect. Kung matulungan yung isang tao, bigla ang pagbabago. Kasi more investors come, mabilis talaga tourism, ganun din, right? So ngayon, tulungan tayo. So again, maraming salamat and this is the beginning for 2023. Sumabuhay na sana tulong-tulong tayo sa pagbabago para talagang malakas ang Pilipinas. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. You get your gift also doon sa labas. All of you will receive a gift from PLDT na hindi namin naibigay during the awards night. Mabuhay lahat! Thank you!
Next year, get ready to be brighter, better, and stronger. Get ready for the Asia CEO Awards 2023. Thank you for joining us today at the Asia CEO Forum. We hope you can be with us once again at our next exciting event.